Hey, it's Karina Reichman, and you are listening to Comes a Time with Oteil Burbridge and Mike Fenoya. If you're digging the podcast, do these guys a favor and review and subscribe. It means a lot. Be sure to follow the pod on social media, YouTube, and if you're joining for bonus episodes and exclusive content, go to patreon.com/comesatimepod and get on the bus. And now, here's Mike and Oteil.
Welcome back to Comes the Time, folks. I'm Oteil. Mike's not here today because he is out promoting up a storm for his new special, Don't Let Me Down. So I'm doing this one solo with my dear friend Jenny Shuman, otherwise known online as Beadwork by Jenny. You can find her on Instagram and beadworkbyjenny.com. She does all my incredibly beautiful guitar straps, and has done them for many others. I remember the day she got called to do one for Bob Weir, and she was extremely excited since she has been following the Grateful Dead since she was 15 years old. But she has a great story. She has been going to powwows since she was a very little girl, and it's very much connected with her Native American culture, and her beadwork comes out of that culture. Ojibwe, if I'm not mistaken. She's just a radiant, one of those people who's very shiny. She has a radiant light, and we've known each other for a bunch of years now, since joining Dead and Company, and we had a great talk about her new book, Speaking in Beads, which she's out on book tour for, and it was just a great conversation about her incredible artwork and art in general and life and the whole process, and just a joy to spend time with her. So thank you, Jenny, for coming on. You guys are really going to enjoy this one. You can find where to find her in the show notes. Also, you can find all things Comes a Time on Instagram, Facebook, and don't forget about our Patreon at patreon.com/comesatimepod. Please, on all of our things, like, share, subscribe. We really appreciate you all, each and every one of you, and enjoy this podcast.
I wish I could just grab you and squeeze you through the camera. That's like the next virtual step, right?
Yes, the next VR, however they're going to do that.
Boy. Careful what you wish for.
Well, it's great to see. Like, you've been on this like whirlwind book tour.
It's been a little wild.
How's it feel to like be on the road actually, that's probably not too unusual for you as a Deadhead, but
no, it's different. It's crazy. I don't know how you guys do it. I have a whole nother level of appreciation. It's crazy because I'm home all the time. I mean, yeah, Deadhead, but I bead. All the beads are at the table right over there. So I'm home a lot. I'm a homebody. I go do social things and then come home and bring all of that light with me and then sit at the table and create. So it was wonderful. It was amazing to talk about my book and have all those wonderful experiences with people. And I stayed with friends all through the tour. So swimming in great pools, seeing the ocean and the mountains and all of it. It was wonderful. But it felt really good to get home too. The boys missed me a lot. The dog missed me a lot.
I'm sure. We always think of Deadheads as having that early period where they were young, where they just said, screw it. I dropped out of college and I just went on the road with the Dead.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and that wasn't me because it wasn't at all. I mean, yeah, I had at a young age. I got turned on to the Dead when I was almost 15. So it is life changing. I always knew Ripple because that movie, The Mask, or mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Cher.
Yeah.
So that song at the end, I was like, what is this song? And I've always loved it. And it wasn't until much later that I learned what that was all about. But I had Julia when I was 16. So I was in high school nursing a baby. I wasn't on the road on tour. I was doing that. And then when she was a year old was when I got my first loom. I had gone to a powwow and got one of those wiry, rickety looms that you get like with Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. And that started it. And she was a year old. And so that was 92. And that was the summer going into my senior year. And so I'd go to a show, but I didn't bring her. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you're gonna stay with grandma. Mama's gonna get some yayas out and yeah, come home.
And you definitely weren't like on the road, like, oh, I went to 18 shows.
No, not at all. Saw Jerry a
Yeah.
couple times. That's great. I'm so blessed that I
That's
did. But
awesome.
yes, absolutely. But no, I was home finishing high school and taking care of a baby and doing beadwork and you know.
So when was your first powwow? It seems like you had a pretty strong connection to your Native American
Yeah,
heritage.
absolutely. Powwow, setting up my first powwow I set up at was 1994. But I had always gone because Riverside Powwow in Grand Rapids, Michigan, right by the river, it's this whole beautiful setup. There's an annual June and September powwow. So I had always gone to powwow. But as far as setting up, it was after my mom that year for Christmas had my uncle make me this beautiful wooden adjustable loom and then got me all of these beautiful supplies and just made it a really nice gift. And after that loom is when I just really dove in because it's just, equipment makes all the difference, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, big time. So then my cousin and I both got on this beading and just really celebrating our heritage and culture and stuff at that exact same time. So 94, I set up at Powwow, and by 95, Julia and I were traveling all over the place to all different powwows every weekend. It was pretty amazing.
So you were deadheading to powwows more than the
I
dead
was,
shows.
I was, I absolutely was because yeah, making a living that way. And it's like a big family reunion. Powwows are just sensational. I mean, we've been, right, to Gathering of Nations was just like the powwow of all powwows.
The mother of all powwows.
And it's so funny. All those years on Powwow Trail, everybody talked about you need to get to Albuquerque. You need to go to
Yeah.
Gathering of Nations. And the first time I was there was with you, and hence all the crying.
Oh man, a DJ Logic, thank God.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Yeah,
DJ
that was
Logic
beautiful.
and
Hmm.
Nth Power and those guys play it. And
Hmm.
yeah, so is this Native American ancestry on your mom's side, dad's side, both sides?
It's my mom's side. My dad's family was adopted, so we're not sure about that
Mm,
lineage. But yeah, my mom's side. So, but really, like, I mean, especially in the 70s, it started kind of making its way around. But for a
yeah.
good century, if you were Indian, you didn't admit it. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just didn't. It was not something people celebrated. So thank goodness for the powwows. Thank goodness that people
Yeah.
still kept this alive and just put the calling out there, whether you were there to honor it and respect it as just a visitor or you were coming back home. And
Yeah.
for me, it was coming back home and it was everything. And on the powwow trail, all the elders were spectacular. I mean, they wanted to teach me.
Yeah, I bet.
They wanted me to know, you've got to pull it tight enough, but never too tight, and always
Yeah.
weave in the rest of the thread and just the little tricks. But more than anything at powwow, you learn intention and you learn
Yes.
prayer. And I mean, I grew up going to church, so I learned prayer, but kind of like that whole existentialism thing where when you step outside of and you really start looking at spirituality in a different way, it comes to you, right?
Yeah.
And with powwow, it's all about like every single bead it's there for a reason and it's a person and everything, all the energy, you're weaving much more than just thread and glass beads, so it's pretty amazing. I learned about the intention. Julia has this one little her dress from dancing because she would dance and I would
Yeah.
sell beadwork, and there are 365 cones, and so there's a prayer for every day, and it
Wow.
really is an intention. It's a prayer for every single day, and those
I
things
love
don't
it.
go away. Yeah, it was pretty
Uh, the
special.
the meaning. So it's does your mom be grandmother any?
No,
You're the first one?
I'm the beater. Yep,
Ah,
I'm the one. So it was really fun to learn on my own, but then of course to go to powwow and then everybody like powwow family contributed, which is wonderful. And then the kids play and everybody's an auntie and an uncle at powwow and the kids pass you up and run around and then everybody like assumes their position for powwow and then everybody leaves and we just sit around campfires and just have the most amazing time and that's where you learn and like all of the things, the intentions, the ethereal side, the material side, all of it comes together and yeah, it's pretty special. I'm so grateful for those years. And then I once I stopped traveling powwow so much, Julia had to go to school and just less gypsy time, right? It's time to settle down and, really like do the home stuff. And then I was doing museum exhibits more often than not for powwow, which is that's another amazing honor because they only pick two bead artists, two painters. It's just they get the cream of the crop and put you in that position, and then you can speak on behalf, like something, of an ambassador for the culture. And that's actually where I met that woman, Dase Priedis from Latvia, who wrote me into her book, and that's how I got over to Latvia to be an ambassador for Native Americans, that was cool. It was pretty intense because it's a whole culture, a whole beautiful culture, and I'd get up and speak, and where do you begin on behalf of this beautiful culture? So, but I did.
those pictures are great on your Instagram, and I love there's one of you looking over this guy's shoulder. You're like
The
zeroed
looms.
in. And I
Yes.
was like, it's so cool, like watching one culture's beating examine another's, and your intention. You talk about intention, man. You were zoomed in on
My
what he
skin
was
is
doing.
actually on like alive right now. I remember that moment so much. This man's whole entire living room was all looms. And he said, "This is how I do it." And so we were sharing because he said, "Where's yours?" And so we totally had our own little powwow right there in Latvia. And yeah, I know that picture exactly. I know that moment so well. It was good. Yeah. Yeah, that place, it's amazing because I think that there's throughout all of history, right? Throughout all the time, there's persecution. There's cultures just get stomped down and trodden. And when you can see a culture persevere through all of that and keep their language and keep their traditions and keep their traditional wares and songs and all of this, and it's done in secret, right? Native Americans were beat if they spoke their language when a lot of them were sent to orphanages, treated like heathens, um, but yet we kept this beautiful culture alive, right? It was all of those elders who really worked through those darkest times, and there's still a lot of alcoholism and poverty. I think awareness helps. I think that if people are aware, they can really give back to the culture and the neighborhoods and everything. And honestly, the casinos make a lot of money for the tribes, a lot.
Yeah, some of them are doing very well. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after this. I just want to show. I mean, I know we're going to be showing
Oh,
pictures and stuff. Look how well it goes with that "Comes the Time"
it goes
T-shirt.
with everything.
Everyone,
It goes with everything. It's just sensational.
I mean, and one of the cool
Love that
things
stuff.
was, yeah, this is the latest one that Jenny made for me.
Man.
I'm going to go ahead and just have a confession here
Okay.
because it's funny, and I was glad that you were able to laugh because I thought you were probably going to really get pissed at me. But Jenny made me these three beautiful straps. And they're just like unreal. And then one day I saw Dwayne Betts's, and it's like it just stops. It's like I think I had another life as a Native American, or maybe it's the DNA. It's somewhere back there in my DNA. But it's how a lot of your work does, just like this.
Portal.
Portal opening.
Portal.
And this is where we talk about the intention behind each bead, everything. Like it's alchemy. It's not just the physical part, it's the intention part. And I saw Dwayne strap, and that thing just like it stopped time, and I was like,
It does.
that's it right there. I was like, that's like how I feel inside. And it's funny because his dad, Dickie Betts, has this beautiful, like the way his house is, the interior
Hmm.
decorating of it and
Hmm.
stuff is him. It's just gorgeous. It has that
Yes.
same feel, that real. He has a very strong Native American. I mean, his wife was Sandy Blue Sky,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
so he was
Aw.
really deeply into it. And I confessed that to Jenny one day. And she was like, "That's fine, Oteil, because this next one I'm gonna make you
You
is
just wait.
and boy, and then
And
when
it
I
took a
got
couple years.
when I saw this, I was like, it's even more like
It's past
so
lives. It's your
yeah,
past lives. It's both Cherokee, Seminole, it's the 20s, it's got the portal, it's interdimensional because honestly, how I originally saw it with the colors, it was the blue on top of the brown, but no, it's the brown on top of the blue, but then that changes and how it all came to life. And then those ancient African symbols that I put inside of that creation design, because I don't know what to call that. It looks like creation, but those, the drummer and God's child, and
the God's Child is the one that got me because I remember a long time ago seeing this eight-pointed star. I had a book called The Encyclopedia of Women's Myths and Secrets.
Mhm.
And it's all the stuff that, people were getting burned as witches for
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
But it had this eight-pointed star, and it called it the Star of Isis. And I was like, oh, that's
Um,
ancient Egyptian.
yeah.
Okay. So I just made a mental note. And then
There,
here it is.
and there it is.
And I was like, so whenever I see these kind of things, I count. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the
and I
13
was
bolts
like,
on, yeah, points on the bolt. Yes, you
how
count.
did you know about the Star of Isis? But then you called it God's Child. It was a different thing for you. And I was like,
Yes.
here's where the magic starts. Here's where the synchronicities,
Absolutely.
the
And it's so much
attention.
different because
We
I've
didn't
done,
talk about it.
yeah, no, we didn't talk about it at all. And like every 8 point star that I've done from powwow, it's way different because it's done on a rosette where it's the one center bead and everything builds out. It's applique like your
Yeah.
OTL from Egypt strap, right? But it's that
Yeah.
particular, that like specific stitch that builds out and they're very pointed. Whereas
Yeah.
this God's Child 8 point star is unlike anyone I've ever done. And like you were starting tour, it was really busy. And once I saw your base, I had been drawing that strap for about a year. I mean,
Wow.
really, I had been working on it about a year. Just everything that we talked about, like the 1920s fella you were then, right?
Yes.
Or, just all of it and how I've gotten to know you and just like the way that everything came together. And then when I saw your new base, it was
Man,
clear. It was absolutely
you
clear.
completely, and timing is often a part of this magic too.
Yeah.
You know, things, just plants bloom when they bloom.
Hmm.
And when you saw the base, it was like, bam, it's that
Everything
timing where it's
came
like,
together. Hmm.
now it's happening. And I
Yep.
tell you, it was always so fun with me whenever there's like, I have friends that are Native Americans, like James Simcoe, up
Hmm.
in Toronto.
Hmm.
And they're Ojibwe, which are their
Ojibwe is
people.
everything I've learned. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ninjikaning,
Great fires. Yep.
and then Coat and Alicoy, who are out in California.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I know them from the Allman Brothers band. And Coat came out on one of the early Dead and Company tours to try to help Kreutzmann out, I think, with his back or something at the
Okay.
time.
Hmm.
And man, when as I always tell people, put these straps in the sunlight.
Yep.
And when
The
he
way
saw
they
that
sparkle and
strap,
dance.
yeah, he saw that strap hit, and he was like, "Yo, man!" I brought it to him, and he was just, to see him just marvel at it, like because I know it's from his culture, and he's like,
Mhm.
"This is the real thing, man." I was like, "Yeah,
It's the energy. I mean,
absolutely."
it's the beads, but it's not just the material you feel. I remember the first time because we came to Denver and met up with you for the Boulder shows in 2017, and I brought the first two straps. And the
Yeah,
green strap, I remember you played with the other one, the rose strap, and then you said this one just feels like the
yeah,
feeling of it, and it's sensational. And um it just so that's what he was picking up on was more than just the leather and the beads. It's all of that intention. It's the spirit that goes into it that comes with us time and time again. Or however, I don't pretend to know exactly how the universe works or how our spirits ebb and flow, but my idea is time and time again, we bring all of that with us. And those are the memories that you have. That's that connection. And I truly believe that. And I think that whether it's sound, like we all express ourselves and how we interpret vibration in nature. Relationships in nature, that's a vibration. How do we express that? There's music, which is like it's a vibration of sound. And so color and patterns are another example of that. And so this is what I do is I take all of life and somebody else's experience, which is so amazing, but like our friendship. So when you look at the first two straps that I made for you, that was getting to know you. And
yes,
I think about how different that, especially that green strap is. Like I could feel the earth and I could feel the cosmic and I could feel all of these things and the lines were coming together, but they weren't solid yet. But it's so beautiful,
I
and then
love that strap.
oh, it's so good. McGeezy with the eagle feathers is just everything. And, it's just the way that it's almost like breathing, the way that the design does this and comes back. And it was getting to know you. So it's so amazing. And then this last strap, the lines are solid and it's like here and here and here because our vibration has
Yeah,
evolved the solidarity. And
it was
it's
so
a
funny
true
because
example.
when you sent me the sketches.
Yes.
So I was staying in this hotel with Oteil and friends. That was like, I don't know what the period is, but it reminds me of the Gilded Age. Like where the
Great
architecture.
Gatsby. And,
Yeah,
hmm
exactly.
hmm
And all these kind of things. And I was like in that hotel
hmm
looking at this and going, I used to live during this time. The music of that time period.
Everything.
When I hear it, I'm like, I
The
was there
20s.
then. Yeah, I the
Me too.
jazz and the
Yep.
dances
The
and
dances. Yeah.
just I was like, I feel I feel like a ghost of that time myself. And so then I get these
Absolutely.
sketches and I'm like, wow, we are really like,
Seriously connected.
yeah. And
Hmm
then with the Star of Isis, the God shot, and the drum, I was
The
just
drum.
when you put the colors on this thing finally, I was like, oh
Everything
wow,
changed. And so,
like
as you
holy
know, like
whoa.
I don't use Illustrator, right? I don't use computers. So you're like, but what about the colors? And it always comes next, right? So after the designs, then come the colors. And I pulled all the beads out, and you've seen that whole mess.
Yep.
It's a mess. And I pulled all of them out and the blues, yes. But I remember pulling out silvers and primaries. And I was just like, oh, it just seems cold. It's just not it. And then I pulled out those browns and the golds.
Yeah.
And I remember stepping back because I do
Yeah.
that. I get up and step back and I was like, what just happened? Does it work? I don't know. Does it work? I think it works. I think there's no other way. And then I sent it to you and you're like, huh, that's interesting. The brown and the gold. Is that it? I'm like, I think it's it. And then when it
It's
got on
cool
the
because
loom,
if you look at me holding that bass, which is right here,
it matches you, it matches the base. That
and
picture you
also
took in Arizona.
this bass is much lighter than normal basses.
Oh, good.
And one of the things that they do to make it light is they roast these necks. It's roasted
Oh,
Norwegian maple, and that's why it's so dark brown. Looks just like me. So like me holding this bass as the brown and blues that
you
um,
match the strap. The strap matches the base. It's like this beautiful creation. I love it so much. I know.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
always said if I was to bead you, it'd be the green strap, but I guess I've beat you twice.
well, they're all great. I love them all, and they all definitely resonate with me. Um, and they're like, children or like songs. How do you pick your
Well,
favorite of your
how do
songs?
you?
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and
That
yeah, because each one has its own place. And I remember the
yeah.
creation of every single piece. And then when I get to see a piece in the wild, right? Like I get to send it to someone I've never
Well,
met them, and then I see it in the wild, and I'm like, I know this piece. Oh, I finally get to meet you. It's so funny.
I mean, geez, I can't imagine like over all the years, not counting just straps. I can't
Yeah.
imagine just how many straps you made. Have you kept track of
No, I
like
should. I know. Somebody even said how many straps are in the book, and I should count.
you should
I
count? We
should
should
count.
like archive like
Yeah,
there's a way to it's all back there, but I mean
it's there.
the way I met you was the purse. I actually think I have that here too.
Yeah, Jess's.
Yeah, hold on, I'm gonna grab
Okay.
it.
You know what? It was so fun because when she sent us that picture,
Um,
oh, sorry, you probably can't hear. Oh, the
that's like
medicine.
my dearly departed friend Freddie McKiernan. You are all over our house because I have
Uh, the
the tapestry too.
tapestry.
But this was the one that
That's the
started it
one.
all. I saw
It
that
did.
online,
It
and I
did.
said, "Oh, Jess would love that,"
Yep,
And
that
then
did. That absolutely started. It was like 6:30 in the morning. Oh, that bag.
remember, and you made that one, but you made a turtle one for Nigel.
Yep, I did. He needed it. Nigel, there was a lot going on, and he needed like that little his own thing. And that medicine bag. So that's
Yeah.
rosette. That stitch, the middle part is the rosette I was talking about, how it starts in the very
Oh yes,
center and
yes,
spins
yes,
out, and that thing just
yeah.
whirls into creation. And then the wings. Oh, I love that bag.
I
Oh,
do
I love
too.
that bag.
Just to keep the sacred
Hmm.
stuff in there.
Hmm.
I have
That's some root
from
stuff right there.
what uh, Derek Matthews gave me a Gathering of Nations. We got to talk about Gathering of Nations
Let's
to these
do it.
folks because I always say like there's two things you got to do in America as all the national park, blah.
Oh yeah, they're
That's great,
beautiful. Yeah,
but if you haven't been to New Orleans, Louisiana, you need to go.
I know.
And if you have not been to Gathering of Nations, you need to go. It's the biggest powwow in the world. I think
Yeah.
300 and some tribes from America,
Hmm.
and then another 200 something from Canada.
Yeah. And then they even bring in Aboriginal dancers from other like countries. Wasn't there an Australian dancing exhibit that we saw?
I can't even remember. Like it's such a whirlwind of and I was also playing too.
Yes.
But wow, yeah, the clothes.
Yes. The outfits are unreal. Unreal.
And they
Yeah.
have the competitions for the clothes and for dance and
Yes. Yes.
wow.
And those outfits, some of those outfits are like a conglomerate of their ancestors, right? So it's beadwork that's been. I've seen outfits with great great grandfathers' sashes. So beadwork that's
Wow.
100 years old. In addition to beadwork that, like this one guy, this one particular outfit, his daughter was beading for him. So I mean, of the ages, and it's so amazing. And the biggest honor at powwow you can get is to be asked to do beadwork for outfits. And I've done
Yeah.
a few outfits, and
Yeah.
it's pretty. It's because traditionally you get the vision as a dancer and then you're supposed to do all the parts. You're supposed to do the feather work and the ribbon work and the bead work. But, not everybody's hands are going to work
Yeah.
that way, right? And my friend Luke, he was sensational, and him and I always traded only traditionally. And he lived on Wapu Island, which is between Michigan and Canada. And
Mm.
so him and his family would hunt the deer. They would use every single part of that animal, and they would brain tan the hides. And he always paid me with Wapu Island leather for
Yeah.
years. I know I
Oh
miss
man.
it. I know I miss it. I still have scraps, in the closet because if there's they'll be buried with me. But yeah, that's just such an honor to exchange in a traditional way and to create their vision, which is what I do with the straps.
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about too. Like
Yes.
how much of what an integral process.
Hmm.
It's crucial for you to like connect
Absolutely.
with the person you're making the strap for.
It's everything. I mean, there, you can't just let everybody in, right? You just can't let every single person in. And
Yeah.
being well known is tricky because you want to experience this, but it's a lot all the time and it's exhausting. And so there, you have to know when it's safe to let your guard down and let people in. But it is a crucial, essential part of the process. And that vulnerability to share not only how you feel on the inside. I think the greatest compliment was when you said that now you look on the outside how you feel on the inside. Huge. Like that meant everything to me because I do have to speak for what you feel, but also how you want to be seen on stage because that's a whole thing. Like, right? That's a whole thing to your stage presence. And so to get a musician to be vulnerable with me just takes time and patience and trust and all of the really important things. And yeah, it means everything to me. And yeah,
So
it's
let's talk about your very first strap.
my very first strap on stage or first strap. Okay.
No,
Chandler.
yeah, because
Yes,
we have
my
so much history
OG.
together
I
with
love
Horn Tour.
Chandler. Yes. So Blues Traveler backstage after a show at Pine Knob in Michigan. And after the show, we're talking. He's like, so you do beadwork? Yeah, I do beadwork. And he said, can you do a strap? And it's kind of like that moment in Ghostbusters. You know, if somebody asks you or if you're God, you say yes. So yes, I can make a strap. And he's like, sweet. I want it to be dark and tribal and punk and bold. And I wanted to have this. And Chandler, I mean, this was in the early 2000s, takes his shirt off and he's so adorable. And he's a big, strong, strapping man who was just on stage all sweaty and hot. And I'm like, all right, you know, like, okay, I'm supposed to be focusing on something. Yes, I'm focusing on the tattoo. That's it. And so it's this big spiral, like the ancient Celtic looking spiral. It takes up the entirety of his back.
Yeah.
Yes, I can put that on a strap, right? This little 2-inch space, I can do that. And
Like click.
yeah,
Go.
yeah, right. But it was before cameras and phones, so it was just like in my brain click. And so it was there, it's trapped in, and I went home and I made him a strap, and it was dark and tribal and punk and bold, and it had that tattoo, and he still rocks that thing. And that was
I love it.
2006 when he got it, you
I
know, and
love
he
it.
has 4 straps now too. Which is crazy. So you guys are neck to neck on that. But yeah, he was my OG stage guy on, you know, with the strap. And I remember Julia and Gabriel were at that when we met up with them to give it to him, the strap, and gave it to him before the show. And then we go out and we're in the crowd waiting. And I will never forget when Chandler walked out with that strap and I looked at the kids and I grabbed their arm and I'm shaking their arm. I'm like, you guys, you guys, you guys. And, you know, Julia was young teenager and she's like, whoa, mom, you know, trying to play it cool a little bit. And Gabriel's like, what's happening, and but I mean,
Is mom cool?
What's
My God.
happening?
Yes,
She's
my
not
world
being
is
very
crumbling.
cool. I was not keeping my cool. It was really, really amazing how I felt. But then like everybody, I kept hearing the chatter of what is Chandler wearing? What's going on? Whoa, these guys are on fire. And then of course that's how it feels, you know, when the music's happening. And you know, haven't been to every single Blues Traveler show by any means, but it was an amazing show. And afterwards I said, so how did it feel? What was it like? And he's like, Jenny, I mean, I just rocked harder than I've ever rocked in my life. I am more Chandler with the strap than ever before.
That's what
And
it feels like. You feel
yes,
like you're more. I'm like, this is. Lisa talked about that. That for
yes,
people that know a lot of the custom made shirts that I
those beautiful
wear
shirts.
it, and she said that to me very early on when we met. She said, "Oteil, clothes are alchemy," and I was like, she was like, if clothes make you feel like a superhero, you will be a superhero. And
Yes.
I knew this from my experience in acting.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're ever on stage or in a movie or something, when you put the wardrobe on, like if you have to play Abe Lincoln, you can't feel.
No,
But if you put the beard and the top hat on and the thing, all of
there
a
you
sudden
are.
it puts you like there.
Yes.
And so when I could wear these straps and wear the kind of clothes that
Mm-hmm.
I see in my head, which I've always
Mm-hmm.
hated, the Western, I hate collars.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you know, all the patterns,
Yes.
it's women's clothes.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, but this is not cut for me, you know.
Yes.
So that's why I realized, okay, this thing has a real power. You need to
Hmm.
like go ahead and put more priority on looking how you would look, regardless of how other people judge you
Yes.
for it. Because
Yes.
I will look like a wizard out of Harry Potter, basically,
You rock it. Everybody would love it.
which the strap would be perfect
The
for,
strap
right?
will be
Like
the strap's perfect for everything. It
t-shirt and
really
jeans
is.
or a Harry Potter wizard's coat.
Yes, exactly. And everything in between, every beautiful shirt. Yes, absolutely. It's true. I mean, I think that we just do that even on a date night, right? It feels good to get gussied up and wear your finest and go out. And
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it
you do
just,
these super cool hat bands
the hat
and
bands are
like
beautiful, cuffs.
yeah,
Yes, because not everybody plays an instrument, right? Or even when Tracy wanted to get you a gift and she wanted to get you a
yeah.
strap, and we weren't ready for strap number 3 or number 4 at that point, right? We even talked about it. I'm like, that's not where we're at yet, you know? And so I thought of the tapestry because when it's the tapestries, there isn't the perimeter of just this space and this
Yes.
space. They can expand. And people, I get to do their family crest. I mean, I got to do your whole musical history and your family,
Yes,
beautiful
it's on my
family.
music room door. It
Yes,
has the gorilla in it for Jess's
yes, yep.
thing. It's got the ankh, it's got the
Hmm.
skull, it has
Water
the
in the
mush.
Desert, the solo album. Hmm.
That's right, it has the mushroom for Allman Brothers band, and then the feathers.
Aquarium, yep, and
Yeah,
then the aquarium
and then
for,
it's got the two turtles for Nigel and Kavi.
yep.
Yeah, it's like it's so great, man.
And that was right
So
before you guys even got Kavi, but we knew she was coming. So Nigel is
yep,
the Native American turtle, right? So he's
yeah.
Indian, American Indian, and then Kavi is Indian.
I yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. So like I did the 2 different Indian styles for the babes. Yeah, it's
And I'm just noticing again, uh it's the God's child. There's that 8-pointed star in the turtle.
yep.
In Nigel's. Wow. Come on now. Girl. Yeah.
Yep. It all weaves together. It's just good
Yeah.
like that.
So let's
Yeah.
talk about you. Who what experience was it like to make a strap for one of your heroes?
Um, you're all my
Or
heroes.
or anything at all, not even just a strap, but because I
Everyone
know
is so amazing. Everyone is so precious for their own reasons. It's so hard just to pick, you know. I guess we can go historic instruments, right? Because I do a lot for the Grateful Guitars Foundation guys. So
yeah.
my first Jerry Garcia strap was for Wolf, and that was amazing. Um, that was pretty amazing. Like I got to tell you, and it was after Tom Hamilton met. So the first time I met Tom Hamilton was in Colorado for Jerry's 75th birthday. Remember, I had to shorten the adjuster on your strap,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, "Oh, I need to go see my bead artist." And Tom was poking at you all like, "Ooh, O'Teal has a bead artist." So we got to like call off rehearsal. I guess this whole funny thing. And so I met him that night, and he plays a lot with Wolf. The guy who owns Wolf, Brian, and he told Brian, "Hey, you know, you should get a special strap from this one lady." And so he was the connection with Wolf. And so when
Cool.
Brian reached out, he's like, you know, I don't really have an idea. I don't know what to tell you to do. I want very discreetly the 3 owners of Wolf. I want the initials in there very discreetly. I don't think we should put Wolf on Wolf's strap.
Yeah.
But I want the birth year of Wolf on there. And I was like, all right, well, that's a lot. Okay,
That's a lot already.
let me channel Jerry Garcia, and I've got all this freedom. What do I do? And it did come together, and it was beautiful, and it seemed so masculine. And so at the very top, I put this little very discreet gold star for the spiralated Venus for all of us ladies, but it's like there is like a little kiss on the shoulder just for all of us ladies. And it's so beautiful and so amazing. And I was so proud of it. And I get it off the strap and I'm showing Brady. I'm like, look, and he said, great. Where's the year? Where's
Oh,
the
you had
birth
the
year?
whole thing done?
Done. Off the loom. Off the loom. Where's the year? And it's like the look on my face was, I'm like, no, I've got this. It's okay. It's okay. Like I reeled it in real quick and what I did, and it's perfect. So I encourage everyone to well, first of all, I encourage everybody to get the book and see, but go look at that strap. And what I did was I appliqued 1973 right at the base. So I fixed it.
So you didn't have to undo the whole entire
It wouldn't, you can't even undo it. It was off the loom. There's no undoing it.
Oh, that's right. Once it's on, it's done.
It's off.
So you would have had to make a whole other one.
He had 2 requests and I totally failed. But you wouldn't even know because it's so beautiful. Like the date's perfect. But it's like true crime confessions right there. And so and actually we were on our way back from home for the holidays in 2019 when we came to see you guys in New York, and that was such an amazing epic trip and concert at the Cap. And so Andy Logan, founder of Grateful Guitars, I'd really love for you to talk to him because this whole thing he has going is just sensational. He wanted me to do alligator. And I looked over at Brady and Amanda and I said, he wants alligator. And they're like, okay, Europe 72, Stanley Mouse, done. I'm like, okay, but that's
this
not
has
just
to
done.
be like crazy for you, right? Like,
I mean, to do a study of Stanley Mouse, like and then where do you pick it? And how do you place it?
Yeah.
And all of it, because it has to be stacked. I mean, it's true alchemy, like you said, and not always can the full image be on there because you don't want you don't want the little clapping hand on the top of your finger. You need a whole like clapping hand. And so it was amazing to bring that art to life as a study. So like I get to study other people's art. So doing those historic instruments is incredible. Mission Control, that bass, that Rick Turner bass.
That's a really cool one.
Whoa.
I mean, they all are. But because I just seen it recently too. I was just like, man, that strap is bullseye.
It's crazy. Julia was like, she's seen all of my work. She's literally seen every single piece I've ever made because she's been here for the entire journey. Yeah. She's 32. I started beating 31 years ago. She's seen it all. And all. She's even, this is circa mom was pulling the string too tight. Like she knows. It's hilarious. But that strap, when she saw all those little pieces on the table, because it was months of making that, because they're all individual little applique sections, and I tried to recreate the abalone, the actual stone in it, which is
that's hard.
A trip. It's really hard and in a very small space. So that strap is amazing, and that instrument is just unbelievable. Rick Turner is
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's over the top.
Yeah. So those are pretty cool. Those are like his honorable moments. But then it's all like even like the little ones. It's the not little ones, but the people who will never be on a stage that matter just as much. Like, because everybody's got their hero, and their hero, for example, one that always comes to mind is this sweet, sweet family in Colorado. And this guy had this heavy chain equipment business, and he's taken care of his family all these years and loves the Grateful Dead. And the sweet mama said, so I want to get this for my father-in-law, and told me all about them. And she's like, but most importantly, when he plays for my baby Leo, it's the only time Leo's chill. It's the only time that he like sits and focuses. And so inside the Steal Your Face, I put the Down syndrome logo inside the Steal Your Face for sweet Leo with his extra 23rd chromosome. And that strap means everything to me because it's all of them. And then she sent the video of him getting the strap, and I'm trying not to cry right now. And he was bawling, and it's just like, so it's those two. It doesn't have to be just on the stage. It's every single piece is so precious. And, like a cup I made for a girlfriend whose dad passed, and the bolt going through the heart like an envelope, and wings to, a flight with angels, or Amy Helm's strap.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
I mean, I beaded the mother. Like the mother. And it's funny because when her and I were talking about it, I'm like, well, how literal do we want to be? For the mother, for all of her own personal reasons, which is her story. But she said, I wake up every morning to this beautiful picture of the mother, and it brings peace.
Yeah.
And said, okay, well, let's work on that. Let's go with that. And that
Yeah.
whole section is applique, like your Oteil from Egypt
Yes.
strap. And so you know that stitch is just completely different. The corners, the points, the curves, everything is just completely different than loom work. And so when I beaded that mother, you know, I have my own life, my own prayers, and my own intentions to went into that as a mother, as a daughter,
Yes.
as a sister, right? Of all of these things. And it took months because I didn't just sit and do it. I took my time because it's the mother. So I beaded every woman.
This is the big one.
Yes. All women. I beaded all women.
Yeah.
And I listened. I love literature. So I listened to the Red Tent and Mists of Babylon when I was creating it too, which is woman, you know. So it was sensational. So that one's another one. And it's so funny because I'm just going to confess, Amy's an incredible musician. I love her. I adore her.
Amazing.
Love her
so much.
So listening to her, getting to know her music, and then she reached out to me because of the incredible straps I've made for Graham Lash and Elliot Pack.
Graham's woo.
It's like a lightsaber. Yeah. That's another one. You got a little jealous of that one too. I remember that.
I told you, didn't I? I was like, oh man, which is great. It's a positive jealousy.
Oh
right?
Yeah, no offense.
But it's just like, and I was so glad it didn't offend you because I was so scared. No. But I had to say it because I was like, man, they're just so, man, Graham's is.
It's a lightning rod. And some people have come to me and said, can you make one like Graham's? And I told Graham that. He's like, nope. I'm like, nope, I cannot. I will not. That's weird, right?
Yeah. It's a unique thing about your art though, because, you know, when you think about painters, all right, it's not that their painting doesn't have a story and a meaning and some intention and whatever, like all that's in there, but it's not specifically connected to the person that's going to buy it.
Not usually. You know? Yeah. That's why I've never done a collection. Not usually. That's why I've never done a collection, which is a dream of mine. I do have a vision, and we'll have to make that happen someday. I'd love to do like a Jenny 2024 collection, right? Of all of these different pieces.
Yes.
But it's hard because what I do when I work with someone.
Your process is connecting with them.
Yes. And I do believe that a collection piece would find their person. I do believe it would find that person, but it's just so different, you know?
Well, maybe you could look at it as like you're doing it with like sitting down with another side of you. There's this guy, we had him on our podcast, Jeffrey Mishlove. He's actually has his doctorate in parapsychology. From UC Berkeley too, like totally legit. And sometimes he does these interviews where it's him with another him, and they're wearing different clothes. And you know, he's being funny, but there's a fair amount of them. Yeah. And I kind of like it. It's like, I'm thinking about that with what you're talking about. Like, okay, so Jenny, maybe there's one side of you, like maybe 12-year-old Jenny with her fears and whatever, or whatever. You know? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, absolutely. Yeah, all the different sides. Yes.
Yeah, because then people could see all your different sides, and I'm sure it would relate to other. I'm sure they would all. People would want to buy them all.
Yes, somewhere. It would resonate. It will resonate with somebody because I mean, think of like there's so many different. Like I love Art Nouveau. And yours, like your latest strap, that's more Art Deco, right? And I love that era. I love that era of art. Both of those. So I would want to do that. I'd totally want to do something like Dwayne's, that Native American that just pours forth from me. It literally just pours out of me.
It takes you back to like 2,000 years ago. Just boom.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, instantly.
Yeah. Like the DMT doorways opening and I stood
all
out
portals.
And I'm like, yes, exactly. The portals, right? And that's a real thing. I mean, and you know, it's funny because every creation, even the design work for every strap is its own story. And I could do it's, you know, too much to go into every single one of them. That's what the book does really, really well. But like with Dwayne's strap, you know, like it was after you and Neil Cassell. Oh, and that strap, Neil.
Oh man, Neil's.
Yeah. That one is. there's just so many layers. There's so many layers to that whole subject, you know, because he was very guarded. So working with him was really interesting during the process. And then after he received the strap, that's when he just fully opened up. He was like, oh, whoa, okay. Taken away all barriers, and I just have to tell you, you know, and it was just a really beautiful, very brief window, right? Because he got it in June and then he was gone in August. But and so you and Dwayne and Neil were on stage, and Jennifer Hartswick was on stage, right?
And James Casey,
James Casey was on stage, and there was just a lot of magic that moment. And we were sitting on our couch right here watching Lock-In that day. And afterwards, it's funny, I put out a hashtag strap one on Dwayne, right? That was my hashtag. And he's like, ha, ha, ha. I'm like, yeah, but seriously. You know, and he's like, you know what, actually, and so that's how I got Dwayne, you know, and so then Lisa, his wife, is just awesome. So her and she's great.
Love Lisa.
You know, like kind of like when you seeing her when I met her in person the first time, it's kind of like when I first met Jess in person. It's like, oh, good Lord, you are a million times more radiant and beautiful and sparkly in person, you know, so that was really, really cool to finally meet her. But in creation of that strap, normally it's, like, even with us, it's, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And then you pick until the design is right. And with Dwayne's strap, I just sent that drawing. I'm like, what do you think? And they both said, well, that's it. And then I got all the colors out and I said, what do you think? And they were like, well, that's it.
Those colors.
The colors, the depth,
the whole thing,
the saturation, how it goes this way and this way. And it's just the whole thing. And that and your last strap were the two that went on my loom and were born of me so naturally and with such fluid.
Yeah, it just came out.
Was born. It was like the easiest ever. There was no second guessing. There was no de-beading, as Chandler coins it, because sometimes the beads literally come off. They have to come off the loom. Redesigning, the colors aren't working. I don't know. And you don't know until it's on the loom, because I don't use any sort of illustrator. I can't project until it's there. But your the two of you, those two straps, no de-beading. They were born, and so fast. I mean, like with less than a week, the beadwork was done. And I stood back from both of those two straps and said, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, what just happened? The spirit came in and just created almost in a third person way. And
it happens with songs. Every songwriter will tell you a story of, well, this one popped out and it was done in like the time it took to play the song, and it was all perfect, and I don't know how.
Yes.
Like you say, in third person, which I do think there is a third person, which is another subject we will unpack later. You know what I mean? Quote unquote third
later.
person.
Yeah.
But it's cool that I've recently seen both of those straps sitting next to each other, like every night for that tour that we did.
I know.
And multiple times in the sunlight, because we were next to each other. So they would be on the stands next to each other with the sun hitting them. I would just be like, look at those bad boys, you know, or you see someone else
so beautiful
looking at them like, holy crap. And I'm like,
and the way the beads are cut and they just catch the light in the right way. Oh man.
But it's funny you say like those two just like popped
they were just
out,
born.
like they were just born.
That's cool. And it was very third person, very much spirit taking over. And I don't know how else to explain it, honestly.
All we have is words. You know, we do the best we can.
We do. It's hard to articulate sometimes. I mean, and I love words and I love to write, like, especially when I write, it's just like pours out of me. That's another third person, but I'm always beating, so I'm not writing as much, which made the book so much fun to be able to put all of that into words and articulate. And it was right after my dad passed. So I just, when something big happens, whether it's grief or change, whatever the case, my coping mechanism is get really busy and create, and not in a bad way, because some people it's distraction and they're not dealing. I feel like I'm dealing, but how I deal is to create.
You're using it as fuel.
It is fuel. And so after getting back from Dad's funeral, I just kind of went in the other room and just wrote, which felt so good because since I haven't really written much except for like little poems, Christmas
Yeah.
poems or birthday poems and, things because
Yeah.
I love to be mushy. It's my favorite thing. It is. I'm good at that. But to be able to have a reason anymore, I mean, I remember in college, I turned a math statistics paper into this great 10-page paper that I wrote, because I just love to be able to write. But yeah, to put all of it into words, it's a trip, and
And that's why we do use other things too.
yeah,
Beatings, music.
yeah,
They can't be expressed, or they can be expressed in words, but not in the same way. Like you need sometimes just colors
you
or
do just need colors.
sounds. Or
Sometimes words are going to take away from what it is that you're
yeah,
experiencing and feeling. And, I mean, quite often I sit in silence when I bead and
yeah,
just let it flow and let it happen because it's such a clean space. It's such a purity. And I do believe that there's things that happen in the ethereal plane. And
absolutely.
those of us who have cultivated our craft, music, painting, beadwork, what a seamstress, whatever, clothing designer, whatever it is, we channel that. We find a way for that, our muse, to express all of that
Yeah.
spiritual side in our own ways. And it's everything. And that's what we do on our different levels. And I don't know how you sing and don't cry. I don't know.
Oh, actually, I do, and I think you could probably catch it on Nugs a few times. Where
Well, I'm
I
probably
was not
crying so
able
hard that I can't
to
see, but
hold
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's been I'm sure, some high times and definitely some China dolls because high time makes me think of Kofi so much.
Mhm.
And, the older you get, the more you realize how important the moments are.
Mhm.
And I find this from interviewing people like we just had Kirk West on,
Mhm.
who a lot of people would say is grizzled, hard, like an old rock and roll. He looked like an old biker,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And he burst into tears,
Oh.
in part of this interview.
Mhm.
And I remember seeing Dustin Hoffman do this when he was on Inside the Actors Studio, and the kids were asking him questions later, and he started crying over. And he said, "Just wait.
Yeah.
When you get older, just you wait.
Yeah.
You'll see
Yeah.
how much it all means, and you won't be so like trying to
Hide it.
keep up this."
No,
Yeah,
you
this
can't.
and me. I mean, I'm the guy that cries at Harry Potter movie I've seen 6 times already.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like,
Um,
come
are
on.
you kidding? What was that Bee Gees song I posted on my Instagram the other day? What the heck was going on? I'm doing my little morning scroll and this beautiful Bee Gees song comes on and I'm bawling. I'm like, what is going on, Jenny? Reel it in a little bit, but
I recorded at their studio at the BG site. Total tangent,
that's
like
amazing.
ADD, but with Paige McConnell and Vita Blue, who we just had on.
Nice. Yes,
Also,
you did. That's amazing.
and man, that studio, it was such a trip down in Miami. And I I don't know if I ever bought their records, but their music was ubiquitous. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
we all know
At
it.
the
It's
time,
yeah.
yeah. And so being in the studio and seeing all this, and now it's like a strip mall converted to a check cashing
Yeah, yeah,
place or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, yeah.
But seeing all the memorabilia in there and like
Amazing.
being brought back to that time, it made me realize, yeah, like what an impact they actually had on my musical
Everything.
life, because all those melodies and grooves are in my memory. Like I know all that
You
stuff.
can't unknow it. You can't
You know?
unfeel it. It's
Yeah.
incorporated in everything we do. And then how songs change meaning, right? How many
As you
times have
get
you heard
older.
Lion Eyes, right? Like the
Yeah.
Eagles. How many times have you heard that song, Lion Eyes? My entire life. And I remember one time we were on a road trip. It was when Julia lived in San Francisco and she was going to college, and we rented a car and went down to Half Moon Bay, and that song came on and I'm sitting in the back seat and I just start just bawling. I'm like, how did I not know that this song is so sad? She's so lonely. How do I know every word? I know
You've been singing it all this time.
My entire life, and that song hit me. And it's not like this was going on in my life at that time or anything, but I just realized how sad that song is, and it ties into as the years they build up, and all of these experiences, and all of our loves, and all of our losses, and how connections and relationships strengthen and ebb and flow, because you can be super close one day and then not, but there's just this big love and regard that you still have for the people. That's a loss. Or then how it just even continues to grow. And I get swept away in those moments, and songs remind us. Songs change because we change.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I used to love that about Colonel Bruce. He would intentionally make it not mean something specific. Or maybe at the spur of the moment, something that he spat out was a flash of whatever, just energy, and it just popped out. But it means different things to everybody. You know, Robert Hunter lyrics are like that, you know? Just
absolutely.
Like
absolutely. And they're going to change as we change. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it is sensational. Yep, all the different ways that we can find to express ourselves, and artistry in the world lends to that. It facilitates in different ways. And then as we nurture our craft, whatever our craft is, it ties in. And then we speak it for people. We need it.
We need it now, because it's so, and it's not going to get any less crazy or any less dark. I'm one of these people that's going to get darker before
the dawn.
Lights. I think it's going to get, we're not done yet. We're not all the way to the end of the unraveling.
Yeah.
But it does fascinate me to watch. I see as the darkness rises, the light rises up at the exact same time to meet it. And I'm more and more persuaded by, I don't feel like we can change the world with music. The music can solve peace in the Middle East,
I understand.
But if it helps anyone hold on through whatever
moment of
dark
silence
period they might be going through, then it does change the world, because it helps us hold on. And it's important.
Throughout all of history. I mean, think about it. There's always been art, and there's always been music. Cavemen. There's been drawings on the cave walls, and then there's been the drum.
Yeah.
Think about it. There's always been that ability to bring people together, right? Because it can wash away the politics. It can wash away the heartache, or it can make you embrace it all, whatever it is.
Yes, it can unify.
Yes.
Which is dangerous. That's why they kill all the poets. I just saw a podcast where they were talking about, I forget which era of time, what ancient civilization, but when it was like when they reached
freedom thinking and everything.
Yeah, when they reached a point where they just immediately killed all the poets.
Like, damn, we can't have this. Yeah.
Oh, no. What does that teach you, right? Like the
control. Yeah, exactly.
Art.
Yeah. And art has always been, even in all destitute times, you know, it's no matter how poor. I mean, was it which one? Leonardo? They had to sell things just to get paint, or make their own paint, make their own colors from different resources, because it's always existed. Art in one way, or, you know, whether it's music or art, it's always existed, and it always will, because it just helps us. I think it helps us get through things. It helps us feel understood. It gives us something to resonate and anchor to, and it's just important more than ever, you know, to have that. You know, whether you want to not think, or whether you want to think, whether you just want to go to a show and dance and not solve the world's problems, because that gets heavy. I mean, like, you know, sometimes I'm like, turn it all off. I just want to bead. I want to unplug. Tolstoy. I'm gonna go on some sort of literature adventure, and because I love me some old literature fiction. I love audiobooks. It's my jam. You know,
that's my jam too.
Audiobooks. I love audiobooks. It's so funny. I can even pinpoint which books were with which guitar strap.
That's great.
It is. It's hilarious. The one I did for that pretzel, it's a different Rick Turner. Can't say Rick Turner enough. I love that man. He was such an amazing guitar maker. But he did the pretzel too, which is just a very Art Nouveau strap. And that collector was like, whatever you want. I've got a couple ideas that I want you to throw in there, which I didn't forget. But he's like, you pick. And because it's such a Nouveau strap, I just had so fun. And I was listening to Anna Karenina.
I love it.
I know.
I love it.
Which is I want to re-listen to that book, but it's sad. I don't know.
Oh man, yeah.
I never know this. It's like one of the oldest, and I didn't want to dive into War and Peace until after I did a shorter book, because like War and Peace was like 50 hours long or something to listen to. And before I get into all of this Tolstoy world, I did Karenina, and I got to the end and I didn't watch the movie. I had never known. And I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and she's like, "You mean you had no idea?" Like, no idea. I mean, it's pretty tragic. It's good though.
Oh, I love it.
I know, me too. So like, there's just so many different ways that we have stories that go with so many different parts of our life. And to be able to express it the way that we do is like, how blessed are we?
We are super lucky.
Yes.
Super duper lucky. I say it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell everybody where they can find all things beadwork by Jenny. We'll have it in the show notes and stuff.
Right
too,
on. But... Yes. Well, my Instagram, I'm way more active on that. I try with Facebook, but I just don't know it, and I don't know if I want to learn it.
I don't.
Yeah. So I'm pretty active on Instagram, and that's where I'm really good about putting all the current images that I've got of my beadwork. But for the book, for Speaking in Beads that I wrote, that's all at beadworkbyjenny.net. And you can email me through that also, as far as if you want to communicate with me and you're not an Instagrammer. But it's really good. And that's where you buy the book. And the book is so beautiful. I chose Speaking in Beads because it is my language, right? It's a language of my own.
Yes.
And I'm telling the stories of these people and their life and their life's work and all of that. But I'm doing it through my translation. It's my language. I'm speaking that language. And then the subtitle being Living Artifacts. It is like your beadwork. I mean, the grandkids will be holding your straps. They will last centuries. And especially now, I know, right? It's amazing. And all that energy goes forward with it. So just like Julia's dress with the 365 prayers, those prayers still exist, and I have the material representation of that.
Yes.
And that's what an artifact is. It holds all of that energy and in that time and place, and the way that everything is documented and recorded nowadays, audially, visually. So, and all of these, what I love so much about what Grateful Guitars Foundation is doing is they're taking all of this old equipment and they're bringing it, they're keeping it alive on stage. And then the straps I make for that are tying the past to the present, but it's all documented. And all of these people who are crazy about Grateful Dead facts, I don't even know how they store all that, but they do. Like,
they do.
I'm, I try to listen and I'm like, whoa, you lost me about 17 years before that. It's crazy. I mean, I'm trying to listen, but it's so much detail. But when people will discuss that particular show, or even how people will share a certain experience, the straps are part of that. And they're part of that in so many ways, because I'm just a girl in the crowd dancing. I don't need to be up front. I want to be way back there.
You're also a girl in the crowd dancing.
There you go. I am also a girl in the crowd dancing and experiencing that with all of my peers. And we're feeling the music that's you guys are responding to us, and the straps are holding the instruments that are putting this out that we're feeling, and it's the most beautiful symbiotic relationship. And these straps are part of that documented history, so they're living because we're giving them all of this life energy and history. And so the book is it's gorgeous. And like your foreword that you wrote, I cannot read it without crying.
Oh,
I felt so. Thank you. I felt seen. Like just the way you said it. I don't even know if I could explain how it feels to be the creators like we are, the way that you did. And so thank you for that. It was beautiful. And
You're very, very welcome.
yeah, and all the
And
sweet words many of the musicians had to say, and all the different photographers, right? It wasn't
yeah,
just Minkin and Blakesburg. It's Chloe, it's Josh Hitchens,
yep,
it's Sam Watson, Ben Finblett. It's all these new up and coming, because that's true Grateful Dead, right? It's
that's right. It's
not
supposed to carry
just,
forward.
yes, and it's supposed to lift one another and help bring to the light. So it's true Grateful Dead fashion, and everybody came together and helped make it happen, and it was just pretty amazing. It was a good experience.
You guys go get that book. Thank you, Jenny, so much for
Thank you,
sharing the time with
sweetheart.
us. This
Yes.
is great.
And it's so good to see you. I
You too.
feel
And
like we should
whenever
FaceTime more often.
definitely, we should. Well, you have a good one today, and
All right, you too.
God bless you, sister.
You too.